Since we all know that the Democrats are moving so far to the left that nothing should surprise us by now, from proposing total open borders for America, abolishing ICE, giving amnesty to basically all illegal immigrants, telling fairy tales about free Medicare and free college and so on. But this might be too extreme, even for them. A lot of presidential candidates for 2020 are saying that they would support completely abolishing the Electoral College. Elizabeth Warren supports it. Kirsten Gillibrand supports it.
Voter disenfranchisement is real. In Mississippi, there are 23 felonies that, once convicted, ban a person from voting for the rest of their lives, literally limiting their citizenship and right to democracy. Moreover, residents' access to voting is limited by archaic voter registration processes and limited voting formats. How will you expand voting rights to the formerly incarcerated, ensure online voter registration, and non-excuse early voting?
All right. Question, but can I go you one bigger? Yeah. And that is, I believe we need a constitutional amendment that protects the right to vote for every American citizen and to make sure that vote gets counted. We need to put some federal muscle behind that. And we need to repeal every one of the voter suppression laws that is out there right now. And I'll tell you one more. We need to make sure that every vote counts. And I want to push that right here in Mississippi, because I think this is an important point. You know, come a general election, presidential candidates don't come to places like Mississippi. Yeah. They also don't come to places like California and Massachusetts, right? Because we're not the battleground states. Well, my view is that every vote matters. And the way we can make that happen is that we can have national voting, and that means get rid of the Electoral College and every vote.
And now Kamala Harris came out in support of abolishment of the Electoral College in the last night interview with Jimmy Kimmel. Here's the video.
Senator Warren, Elizabeth Warren, had a town hall last night, and she said that she thinks we should do away with the Electoral College. Is that, do you agree with that?
I think that I'm open to the discussion. I mean, there's no question that the popular vote has been diminished in terms of making the final decision about who's the president of the United States, and we need to deal with that. So I'm open to the discussion.
Now, this is one of the latest examples of the left not supporting the Constitution of the United States, one of the greatest documents of all time. People of every state can have a word in deciding who will run the country, and if we would abolish the Electoral College, basically the destiny of this country would be decided in the big coastal cities and states like California and New York, since more than 15% of the population live in those two states. They would decide who will be the next president of the United States. And we all know that these states are extremely liberal, so liberal that in the last election, Hillary Clinton won over 60% of the votes. And of course, what the left would do if we were to abolish the Electoral College, they would open borders for anyone who wants to come in this country, no matter if they are legal or illegal immigrants, and these immigrants would vote overwhelmingly Democrat, and the states in the middle of the country would have no voice in the elections. In this case, nobody would have to campaign in the states like Mississippi or Ohio, since everything would be decided in these large states. And since knowing that these smaller states in the Midwest usually vote Republican, it's understandable why the Democrats would want to abolish the Electoral College. And in many cases, these smaller states actually decide who wins the elections. States like Ohio that can go either way decide the result of the elections. Well, Democrats don't like it. They want to be 100% sure that they will win every single election in the future. They truly only care about the power, and that's the only thing that's important to them. That's why they attack President Trump so much, because they are so eager to come back to power. But it's just telling how far to the left they have moved, since if Barack Obama Kamala talked about abolishment of the Electoral College, it would be considered too extreme, but now it's just fine to talk about. And it would be interesting to see how well these Democrats will do in the flyover states, how they call them, since they are practically telling people in those states that they don't care about them. And that's the only thing that they care about, and in their minds, the future of the country would be decided by extremely liberal states, and the working class people in the middle of the country would have no voice at all. And that's why it's very likely that President Trump may even have higher support in these states than he had in 2016. And we saw one of the arguments from the left is that the Electoral College was created in the time when slavery was still around, even though this argument is totally invalid and is often used when they talk about gun control, because by that thinking you could say the exact same thing about the free speech and First Amendment. It was also created when slavery still existed, so by that logic maybe we should get rid of free speech also. But actually that's not that surprising since the modern left believes in free speech less and less every day. But now let's take a look at Tucker Carlson, where he responds to a claim made by Kamala Harris. He also talks about the importance of the Electoral College and why it's so crucial to the fairness of elections in the United States.
Punish America for not giving it absolute power 2 years ago. The Democratic Party has decided to undermine or crush every institution that stands in its way. One of the newest targets is the Electoral College. Senator Kamala Harris of California says we must abolish it.
Senator Elizabeth Warren had a town hall last night, and she said that she thinks we should do away with the Electoral College. Do you agree with that?
I think that I'm open to the discussion. I mean, there's no question that the popular vote has been diminished in terms of making the final decision about who's the president of the United States, and we need to deal with that.
So that would have been a pretty far out thing to say a couple of years ago. But without question, the view you just heard will soon be mandatory on the left. And if you disagree with it or question it, you will be, and you know what you'll be, a racist. On Tuesday, Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee demonstrated exactly how that will work. Watch.
The country is different than it was when the Constitution was drafted. And when the Constitution was drafted, a lot of it had to do with slavery. This is all conceived in sin and in perpetuating slavery on the American people and on the African American people directly.
So if you're for the Electoral College, you're for, quote, perpetuating slavery. You're a bigot. Of course, freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, due process, separation of powers, they were also created when slavery existed. In fact, so was the country. So maybe that's why the left is trying to undermine them, too. Who knows? Dana Perino hosts the Daily Briefing, co-hosts The Five, one of our favorite people at Fox News, and joins us tonight. So Dana, this is one of the... I'm just struck by how quickly things are moving. If Barack Obama had said 2.5 years ago, I really think we should get rid of the Electoral College, that would have been a stop the presses moment. But now it's becoming consensus, wouldn't you say?
It's a litmus test, right? So now it's like, is there a Democratic candidate who is saying no? I mean, Cory Booker kind of tapped the brakes on it. It's like, whoa, I don't know. But he'll get there. I mean, this is happening. And remember, it's Eric Holder also, I think, who during the Obama administration suggested this. But the Democrats didn't need to talk about this when President Obama was president because he won the Electoral College. Okay?
That's true.
So now, you know how the left talks a lot about the concerns with President Trump that he's obliterating norms, okay? Because he's not civil, right? And also, look, you know how I feel, like the nicknames, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the institutions have held up. But the Democrats are now talking about actually dismantling those institutions. And what's interesting to me is that the reason that the country's set up this way with different states is because we are a republic. You have a representative government.
Yes.
If you do away with that and you just elect your presidents by whoever lives in New York and California, and you just erase all of those boundaries, then you truly are for open borders. Then you are no longer the United States of America. You are like the United People of America, or perhaps not so united, right? You're just the people of America.
Well, it seems like it would be a massive drain of power from the weakest parts of the country, rural America, the interior of the country, to the coast, which are already brimming with power and wealth. So why would you want to exacerbate that divide?
For example, and Elizabeth Warren, one of the candidates, she made her announcement about being for abolishing the Electoral College in Mississippi. And you heard what the congressman from Tennessee said, right? Like, who's going to go campaign in Mississippi if all they need to do is get the popular vote? The other thing is, remember, we've talked about this on your program, Tucker. Abraham Lincoln only won because of the Electoral College. He didn't win the popular vote. So if the argument doesn't actually last.
Wait, does that mean that he's racist?
Well, I'm trying to be ironic.
Can I just ask really quick? I mean, I think there's really a cost to. I mean, some things are racist, and you should say it, and people should be embarrassed to be racist, in my view.
Of course.
But if you call everything racist, it really it devalues the term. Will anyone ever stand up and say, just stop with that? Let's have an adult conversation?
Well, let's see. Will Joe Biden do that? Because here's what I would think. I look at things from a communication standpoint. I'm looking for the Democrat who would say, oh, I don't need to worry about talking about something that might happen in 50 years if we change the Electoral College. Because the Electoral College is not going to change for the 2020 election. Okay, and bringing,
right.
I think that they're wasting their time. Where was President Trump today? He's in Ohio. What was he talking about? Manufacturing, jobs, and the economy. What have we been talking about? This is Wednesday. We've been talking about the Electoral College for almost an entire week. So they are missing the opportunity. He's basically saying, come over to my, you want to talk about the economy? Great, I'm here. He's ready to take the slings and arrows, but instead they're talking about the Electoral College and the Green New Deal. That's really great in San Francisco and New York City. It is not great in all the states that you have to win in 2020.
Yeah, they live in Russian Hill and Tribeca. Very popular. Dana, thank you so much. It's great to see you tonight.
Thank you.